Our nameless girls start dropping by to see me pretty regularly after that. It always come in the evening. It's probably too risky for her to be wandering about in the daytime. No wonder, if I were her, I would want to avoid being pursued by those black-suited goons as well. The pattern was always the same. She'd immediately go to the books upon arrival. After 3 hours of reading, she'd stand up and go back home. I always offered to walk her back, but she'd never accept. It wasn't that she was even a bother, far from it. But still, was it a bit suspicious for a girl to come visit a man's room always late at night? So I kinda wanted to say something to her, but never had a heart to bring it up. Besides, I didn't want to give her the impression that she wasn't welcome here. She came last night, as punctual as the clockwork that was missing in town. As usual, she picked out a book. As usual, she started reading it with gusto. Except this time around, she fell into sleep so deep that somebody declined to wake her up. Which is why, in the morning now, her eyes fluttered open, she jumped out of bed in shock. Lini, go for it.
I'm so sorry.
She said with a worried look on her face. She started talking to me as of late, short sentences and single words. That was still progress. I suppose I should have been surprised, but she spoke just like Analye. Hopefully she wouldn't start imitating his personality as well.
Oops, stole your bed.
Oh, don't worry about it. You sleep well?
Yeah. Much nicer than the bed at church.
I see. Anyway, cheapskate, could you at least buy her a better bed? I look out the window. Someone's just starting to peek in from the horizon. It'll be dawn soon. Well, want some breakfast before you go?
Don't want to be a bother.
Well, I suppose I should have been relieved. Her personality was completely the opposite of Analye's. Although this, too, was a problem, because she went too far in the other direction. I see, I already made breakfast for two. I'd be even more bothered if you don't eat up. She nodded happily. So after an early breakfast, we went back to reading our books. But by the time lunch came around, she started wandering around my apartment in boredom. I had lots of books, so this came as a total shock. To read them all, cover to cover. So she pulled a random book off the shelf, started reading it all over. The problem was, it's one she had read not too long ago. Obviously, she still remembered most of it. Nothing interesting about that. I watched her for a short time, then I asked, "Go buy some new books?" She had a completely thunderstruck expression on her face at first. Obviously, she hasn't grasped what I just said. But soon enough, that gave way to a great deal of happiness, a great deal of confusion. Her way of saying that she really wanted to go, but it was too dangerous, I suppose. Oh, don't worry about it. They're around, all I have to do is lose them. So eventually, I said with a smile, but she still rooted in place. So I took her hand and pulled her up to her feet. She didn't offer any resistance. Because if I didn't do this, she'd never venture outside again. She followed me out the door, with a new resolute expression in her eyes, a new boldness in her step. I slowly stepped into a town filled with rain and tears. Rain that fell upon the city was cold and clear. It became time for winter. Rain turned to snow. Only had one umbrella in my apartment, so we walked together, slowly. I surveyed the area. No suspicious people or black suits in the area. Walked along the road to 6th Street. Didn't want to draw any untoward attention, and taking a trolley would have done just that. My companion looked all around her with breathtaking interest. Everything was new to her. That wasn't so unusual. She'd probably only ever seen a city under the cover of night. According to Analye, the first time she ever stepped outside was when she'd come to me for the first time. She been chased the entire way, so I didn't really think that counted. Every few seconds, I had to call out to her, keep her from slipping on a puddle or crashing into a wall. She was looking at me with this bashful smile on her face. We walked to 6th Street in relative silence, entered the bookstore. She looked around and wondered at all the books that were lining the shelves. I was afraid she'd get lost for hours inside this place, but she quickly chose a book for herself and came back. The cashier rang up the purchase, handed the book to my companion. I hugged her to her chest with a look of such bliss that I almost felt guilty.
Thank you.
She whispered with a smile, the same expression of warmth and relief that she put on whenever she saw Analye. We wandered around the storefronts after that. I get an echo.
I think it might be Cristina.
We wandered around the storefronts after that. Wait. Getting from Cristina, actually.
You want me to go?
Yeah, I get an echo from your end for some reason.
I'm trying to deal with the volume. I don't know what's going on.
Wait, sorry, what's that?
I was having a problem with my volume, so.
Oh, okay.
Right. So just read this line.
No, try muting yourself. That's okay, good. And I became aware of the presence of a black suit in the crowd. I grabbed my companion's hand and ducked into a nearby store. She was taken completely by surprise, but she followed me regardless. We hid there for a while, but we could see the black suit circulating through the area, so the tensions were high. It's the same guy from before. Didn't look like he noticed us. It was more that he was tracing the trail that my companion had taken to get me in the first place. Watched him systematically, stopped by every store along the way and talked to the shopkeeper. He was probably inquiring about my companion here. He was coming this way. It meant he would be at the store soon. Took a deep breath. Took my companion's hand and walked out of the place. Opened up my umbrella, held the girl close to me, walked right past the black suit. We walked in silence like that for a time. Turned to look. Thought the black suit had disappeared. So he hadn't discovered us. Thank God for that. Just then she started struggling a little. She was probably uncomfortable in my grasp. Oh, sorry about that. I let go. She stepped back and silently averted her eyes. She was blushing furiously, too. I didn't intend to hold her so tightly, but that's what ended up happening, obviously. For a entire trip back to 5th Street, she refused to so much look at me once. We were nearing my apartment complex when she suddenly burst out laughing.
Wow, scary. Couldn't breathe. Glad it's over.
She said with a sigh of relief. That's understandable.
Don't you get scared too? Sometimes, black eyes?
She asked, her eyes open wide. I realized this was the first time she ever called me by my name. Sure, I do. There's so much I'm not scared of. She kept on laughing gently. Obviously, she thought I was joking. She started reading the book the moment we got into my apartment. Well, it's more accurate. She made a good effort, but she was asleep within minutes. Probably tired up from all that walking. But man, does she sleep a lot. Analye came by that evening. Brought some pasta and vegetables in the bag with him. Obviously, he wanted me to make dinner for him.
She wasn't at the church, so I thought she might be here.
He said as he came to the bedside and stroked the sleeping girl's cheek. I got on my chair too. I got on my chair, took Analye's bag and went to the kitchen. Analye got into my chair and stayed put. I started washing the vegetables for the salad when Analye started talking to me.
She started talking a lot, hasn't she?
Sure. Not a lot though, just a few words here and there.
She's never uttered a word. Not in all the time I've known her. But she wants to talk. To you. That's why.
I turned to stare at him when he said this. His eyes met mine, narrowed, gleaming with vicious light, and awfully amused. Honestly, he's been waiting for this. So I turned back to the salad.
It's the truth. Not a single word to me wasn't necessary. But now she talks and is interested in all sorts of things.
I plated the salad and pasta and carried everything to the table. As I approached the bed in order to wake our sleeping beauty, Analye casually remarked,
I wonder. If you like her, you can keep her. If you promise to treat her well.
Are you serious? His face was his usual harmless old man mask, impossible to tell whether he was joking or not. I glared daggers at him. He was starting to get mad. Maybe I wasn't. I didn't really know. But I had to say something. Unlike you, I don't keep people as pets. You really want to treat her well?
I don't love her.
Really? Why are you running your fingers through her hair like that? Why that loving look in your eyes?
I don't love her at all.
He repeated softly. Except to me, it sounded as if he were trying to convince himself it more than anyone else. I had no idea what was going on in that mind of his. Neither the girl nor Analye came by my apartment anymore after that. As for myself, I became so busy with my own work that I didn't really think much about them. But there came a point when I found myself between assignments, and I began to wonder about what had happened to the unlikely pair. I'd been planning on heading out of town anyhow, so I decided I'd drop by the church. Maybe I'll find the girl there. I was, after all, starting to get pretty worried about how she was doing. It was an unusually sunny day. Shards of stray light flickered and faded in the puddles that dotted the streets. The stained glass windows of the church came to view, almost alive in the day's stars, shining exultation. I opened the door and went inside. It was pleasantly cool within. The air was quiet and still. I remembered that the girl lived in the basement, except it was too dark for me to really see much, which meant I had no idea where the stairs down were supposed to be. Then I realized someone was here with me, over there where the benches were. I found her. There she was, sitting on the floor, motionlessly. If I didn't know better, I would have thought that she was praying or something like that. She looked towards me when she heard my footsteps. Her eyes went round in surprise when she saw who I was.
Did you come to see me?
She said, her eyes glittering with excitement. Now, that wasn't altogether unpleasant, but man, it was making me want to blush. Pretty much. It's wondering what happened to you, as I haven't seen you around for a while. The girl's face went blank for a moment. Then she managed a small and troubled smile.
Got a little busy. Couldn't leave this place.
There is something awfully suspicious about what she just said, but for now I was relieved. She was alive and well. Oh, thank goodness. I was worried. Thought something might have happened. Anyway, I'll leave you be.
You're leaving already?
Yeah, I got a bunch of things to do today, so... And I felt sorry for her, but I did have to go. If I didn't get the stuff done, I never would be. She looked up at me, down to the ground, and up at me again. Then, diffidently, she asked,
May I come with?
"Come with? You do realize I'm heading out of town, right?"
Yeah.
She replied, sadly. This was the first time she ever asked anything of me, so naturally I was taken by surprise. But you can't go out, can you? You don't have a monomicide protocol permit, so they wouldn't let you back in.
There's a tunnel underground. Pops used it when he used to slip out of town. He used the same route to come see me. No problem if we take that.
There's a strange expression in her eyes now. I'd never seen it before. Then I realized what it was. She was desperate.
Please. I really don't want to be here. Nothing but bad memories.
Very well then. I finally gave in. Okay, then you go ahead and use the tunnel. Wait for me on the other end. I'll meet you there.
Okay. Sorry about this.
Don't worry about it. Besides, I feel better you came with me anyhow. Replied with a smile. She just stared at me. Obviously, she had no idea what I was talking about. Her eyes glittered in the dark. The weird thing was, I started to feel better about today already. I took the trolley to First Street, walked to the gate and showed my ID, my leave authorization to the guard on duty. Looked out through all my documentation, nodded, and motioned for the gate to be opened. Not even a monomicide could come and go as he pleased. Not in this city. Got my leave authorized over at HQ just yesterday, for instance. I walked out a small side gate. The walls of the city stood behind me. There's nothing for miles around. No matter where you looked, it was all grassy hills and forests. Not a single soul to be seen. It's been a long time since I last left the city. Maybe about a year ago? Maybe longer. Well, first things first. Time to go get my young companion. She showed me where the entrance to the tunnel was on my map, so it was simple enough to find. Sure enough, there she was, poking her head out from a small hole in the ground. She came out entirely when she saw me, ran up the hill to where I was. We're going to be walking to the closest town from here. Will you be okay?
Yes.
She replied with a nod, a deep breath of fresh autumn air. So we started walking. For every hill we climbed, yet another one appeared. My companion seemed to be fascinated by every plant, every tree, every bush, every flower she encountered. She went running every single time something new appeared on the horizon. She was going to be fast asleep when we got home. For sure. We arrived in town in due course. I flagged down a taxi. I gave the driver my destination. He said, "James." James? Ma, you do it.
So you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yes, that's a lovely part of town, isn't it?
She wasn't wrong, by the way. That's my opinion of it, too. Shortly thereafter, the taxi dropped us off at our destination. I headed towards a house at the end of the street, with the girl close behind me. The house has a small garden. The lawn was green and well kept. The flower bed was beautiful. But the most beautiful thing of all was standing there with a hose, watering her garden. I stopped the instant I saw her. My companion looked up at me quizzically. A gentle breeze swept through the area. I carried with it the fragments of Maria's song. This brought back so many memories. For instance, the last time I heard her sing this song, she told me about her dreams. To live in a little house, raising lots of flowers, that was all she would say. Such a little dream, yes, but not one that could have ever come true in the city where we were born.
This song. Beautiful, isn't it?
My companion murmured, "Yeah." I replied with a smile and turned away. At the same time, I heard someone from inside the house calling Maria's name, to which she replied with a bright and cheerful voice, "Let's go." But she stayed there, looking back at Maria in the garden for a long time. We got off the taxi and started heading back towards our city. Except my companion has changed quite a bit. Instead of running around and exploring her surroundings, now she was refusing to leave my side. I could still hear Maria's song ringing in my ears. It's such a bright and happy voice, one I never heard when we were together. I hadn't seen her in a year. Did people really change that fast? I guess they did. I mean, 5 years ago, I left the city where I'd been born in order to become a monomicide at all costs. I wanted to make Maria's dream, house and flowers and all, come true. That was the only reason I ever had. The only one I ever needed. So I lost touch with her for 2 years. Couldn't be avoided. Only those with monocidal potential were allowed within the confines of the academy, and was allowed out until graduation, or wash out. The academy was an incredibly peaceful place, and I would have believed it. It was filled with friendly classmates and professors who showed so much interest in you as a person. I had no use for any of that. I turned it all away. It was unfair of me to accept the kindness of others while Maria was left behind to struggle in the dark. Besides, more importantly, I had no idea what to do with the goodwill of others. It was a scary thing. So scary that I probably ended up hurting a lot of people. I didn't hear that Maria had undergone the monomicide protocol until it was too late. I just lived out my days as a student within these cloistered walls, without a care in the world. She never stopped crying, ever since the day you left. You had to be removed from her memory, otherwise she herself would have died. That's all Dexter would say to me when I asked him why he'd done it. I turned, only to see that my companion was now walking a little behind me. Her tears running down her cheeks and dripping to the ground.
Don't mind me. I'll be fine. It's not me. See? I just have no control over this.
Those were exact same words that Analye was fond of using. Except, there was one difference. Unlike Analye, this girl didn't stop crying. But I was jealous of her. Because she was doing exactly what I found myself unable to do when I lost Maria. Instead, I just sat down in a black back alley and watched the rain come down on me. Completely useless.
You're the one who's really hurting. So it's unfair. I'm the one who's crying, right?
She tried to smile, and desperately delved in her eyes, but that didn't stop the tears. In fact, it just made her look more forlorn than she already was. Maybe. See, it's true. It hurts when you break up or you're blamed. Or you hated. But none of hers as much. It's being forgotten. Finished with a smile. How strange. Never thought I'd be able to talk about Maria with a smile on my face. Because every single time I thought about her, things got difficult. So difficult that I completely forgot how to smile. So I took my companion's hand. She was crying so hard that she couldn't see ahead of her. Then I cried enough for both of us. I began to lead her through the hills, back to her city. Yes, then I cried enough for both of us. The past was the past. It was never going to come back. My companion didn't seem to want to stay in that church once we got back, so I brought it back to my place. It was dark out. The clouds hung threateningly low overhead. So we had dinner together, and started reading together as per usual. It started raining right around then. I heard the raindrops drumming on the roof. My companion listened attentively for a few seconds, and then she asked,
That song. It was so beautiful. What's it called?
I don't know either.
I see.
She replied with obvious disappointment. Well, not that I didn't know how she felt.
I want to sing it too, but I've forgotten the words.
She said with a wee smile. I'm sorry, I've forgotten as well. So why not just scat it, with laws and such?
Love? Why love?
Huh? Well, C is pretty clean and it works pretty well with singing. She blinked slowly, and softly she started humming the melody as she remembered it. Her voice was so soft and gentle that the drumming of the rain threatened to drown it out, yet I heard every last strain. Her voice lost its uncertainty after a while. It grew stronger and warmer as I listened. I could feel it embracing me, sinking into my every pore, filling me up inside. As long as it was like this, I felt as if I could forget all the pain and sorrow that I carried within me. The dark city where I was born. The factories where people toiled and died. The dead-end streets and unmarked graves. Maria. Everything was vanishing from within me. Vanishing? I blowed off from my chair. She stopped singing the instant and looked up at me with surprise. The worst fears had come true. She had no idea what had just happened, so she just stared back at me innocently. That filled me with burning pain. I'm going out. I'll be right back, I said as I ran out the door. I was too impatient to even take my umbrella. I just sprinted out into the rain. I took the trolley to 1st Street, to HQ, but Analye was nowhere to be found. So I came back to 5th and ran into the church. I was totally soaked by the time I saw the stained glass windows in the distance. I ran up the hill and burst into the church. Sure enough, there Analye was, standing at the podium. It took me a long time, it seemed, to realize I was there. Finally, he turned to me and said,
My, won't do to get all wet like that. Take care of yourself. The girl, she at your place again?
Analye said with his usual dry composure. I had no time or patience for his platitudes. Just what is she? Answer me! His face hardened as he fell silent. I continued to glare at him. He was playing any of his games today. She tried to erase my memory just now. I don't think it was intentional. At least not on her part. So tell me, just what are you scheming?
Pray tell, what did she do?
She sang a song. That's what.
I see. A song.
Analye nodded. He seemed so satisfied. I wasn't about to let him get away with it, so I asked, "She's a monomicide, isn't she? A freaking Omega! Just like you." He stopped smiling that instant. For a while he did nothing. And then he nodded curtly.
Correct. That's why I'm raising her.
To what end? What the hell is an Omega, anyway?
Impressive. Most impressive. It only took you, 3 years? To ask that question. I've been waiting. But you already know now, don't you?
I continued to glare at him. The Analye just brushed it off. His smile twisted a bit. Obviously, he was enjoying himself.
You've seen it with your own eyes, haven't you? You've been past the gate. I know you have.
Right. I slipped past the gate on 8th Street, the so-called Gate of Farewell. Every cured patient left the city through that gate, or in a body bag. And honestly, I hadn't had much interest in Omegas until I first met Analye 3 years before. I'd known from the beginning that he was a genius, not above using underhanded methods to get what he wanted. I also known from the beginning that he was using me, but I didn't know why, so obviously I've been investigating on my own. So one night, I waited for the changing of the guard at midnight, used the opportunity to slip out the gate. Knew that if it was found out, I'd be expelled from town. But I didn't care. I was greeted by a white corridor that seemed to stretch on forever. There were little rooms on either side of the hall. Each room had a big window on its door. Looking into one of them, I was shocked to see a small boy there. He was sitting deathly still on a chair, just staring back at me. That didn't last for long. He burst into tears in a matter of seconds. It's unreal. There's no sound, no noise, just tears. I looked around, and I realized every single one of these rooms had a child in it. How long was this corridor anyhow? How many children were imprisoned here? I stopped looking into the rooms altogether after a while. I knew exactly what I'd see. It's enough to give me the worst headache of my life. All I knew was I couldn't stay here, which is why I ran for dear life back into town once it was safe. All those children, they're all Omegas, aren't they?
Correct. I was one of their number, long ago.
He said with a nod.
They were all crying, weren't they? But it wasn't because they were sad themselves. It was because you were there with them.
No idea what you're talking about.
Those children have no selves. They are empty echoes. They take on the emotions of people near them, whether they want to or not. Because they each have a hole as big as their souls, and it needs filling.
I thought of all those children, all those tears, and I cursed. Analye just smiled back.
Don't feel sorry for them. They don't feel a thing. No pain, no sorrow.
Oh really? Then what about yourself? You're an Omega, just like them. So is that girl.
The worst thing, when you realize you are you. I came to that realization one day. I wondered what I was doing here. I wondered what would happen to me as I took all that sorrow, held it in, You saw all children, no one else. Because none of them grow up. They all vanish, overwhelmed by the psychic corrosion of others. I didn't want that. I escaped from my room. I wanted to live. I didn't want to vanish. Obviously, they caught me before long.
He said with a wry smile.
But they didn't make me go back. They had no idea what to do. With an Omega who had volition, I was the first. Thus my nickname. So they let me out, made me a researcher and professor of mnemonicidology.
Great. He sighed deeply. It looked like he gained a few wrinkles, just telling me this story. Now his hands were gripping the podium in order to support his weight. Then he just opened his mouth again.
But the psychic corrosion inside me never vanished, not even afterwards. I'd have been fine if they were really mine. But they were all someone else's. People I'd never seen before. What was I supposed to do with that? That's why I started looking. For a pure Omega that nobody had found yet. And I found her. She's young. Too young. Can't take my psychic corrosion. Yet. But that's fine.
So, you plan to force your freaking psychic corrosion onto her shoulders.
These memories aren't mine. And they're heavy. Too heavy. So heavy I can't stand anymore.
You planned this from the very beginning.
I told you, didn't I? That I had a use for her.
Analye was smiling. I watched him for a while, then my hand naturally went to my pocket. Out came the gun that Analye had given me 3 years ago. I pointed at him. He nodded at me. Gently.
As I said, that's fine. She'll cry and know no end of tears if I give my memories to her.
I won't let you.
I have no intention of stopping, you know.
Then why did you give me this gun? For a moment, Analye couldn't find the words to say. It didn't take long for him to recover.
Black Iris, you fool. I made a little wager. Would you take away my pain first, or would she? Don't you see, I don't care which one it is. All the same to me, and equally painful for you.
With my lips, I steadied the gun.
You're the first person I ever asked anything of. No, there's another, but he didn't think like me. Too bad.
Probably the uncooperative student that he once told me about.
He told me that he had a philosophical objection to a healthy person just lying down and dying. He hated the dolor, heart and soul. And so, he could never kill me. But you know how to handle that, I hope.
Analye sneered. All trace of any smile had now disappeared from his face, and all that was left was a grim, austere determination. It was almost majestic.
So, Black Iris?
That moment, I realized there's no way I'd be able to talk him out of this. So I said, "Tell her, just once, that you love her."
You can do that. You should do that.
I averted my eyes. Felt like I could face anything, except for this. But Analye didn't move a muscle, just stood there, looking straight through the gun, into my heart. Startlingly clear, the stare, so clear that it burned. Made ready to pull the trigger. Yeah, it'd be so easy. Just one pull will land. I found out I didn't have the strength or the heart to do that. The gun felt so heavy in my hands. It was the weight of the world. I couldn't hold on to it, let it all fall to the ground. The gun skidded for a long time. Sailed right past Analye and disappeared into a crack in the floor. Would not kill you. It wasn't as if the girl was going to turn Analye down. No. She would keep taking this pain away. Knew she was burning with all the psychic corrosion in the world. No idea what to do anymore. That was just as well because there was nothing I could do anymore. I stumbled out of church, step by step. I could feel the alpha of Omega's eyes on me the entire time. It seemed so sad. It was raining harder than ever now. I just kept walking through town, felt numb to everything around me. I thought maybe some brilliant idea would occur to me if I just did this. Talk about stupid. Because no matter how much I brainstormed, my conclusion was always the same. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't help Analye. I couldn't help the girl. I wandered about aimlessly for a long time, but eventually, I was out of ideas and out of energy. I stumbled back to my apartment. It took more effort than I had ever imagined to climb the steps, and then to unlock the door. The girl was nowhere to be found. I was in no condition to be thinking about that right now. I collapsed onto my bed, water ran off my hair and entered my eyes. Joe blusted off, bloomingly. I fell asleep in a matter of minutes. I slept forever, and awoke at a high fever. Maybe because of the rain, maybe because I was tired of thinking. I couldn't even stand. There's so many things I had to do, but for the life of me, I couldn't move my body. It was hopeless. It took me 3 days. Over the evening of the third day, I got up out of bed and stumbled outside. I had to get over to that church before it's too late. I had to get to that girl before Analye made her take on this pain. I knew, in the back of my head, that this wouldn't solve anything. I had no other course of action. 3 days. It's not a long time. It was long enough time for fall to turn to winter. So cold. I got frozen solid by the time I opened the door to the church. The girl was curled up on the floor, her head in her hands. Analye was lying on a bench near her. The same gentle smile that had always graced his face was gracing it now. Except his eyes didn't open. His body did not move. I couldn't believe it. Moving closer. I needed to know. The girl raised her head from the floor at my approach. Her hair was spilled over her shoulder. It was white.
Pop, he was always sick. He refused hospitalization because he knew he couldn't see me. He hid it. I found him, collapsed here.
Tears continued to stream down her face, but she didn't bother to wipe them. Instead, she gently touched Analye's face with her hands. It was such a gentle act, as if she were saying goodbye to each and every one wrinkle on his face.
Pop. Pop.
but Analye never woke up. The girl shed tears, so many tears that Analye's face was drenched by the time it was all over. Her tears, her white hair, her shuddering body, all filled me with such pain. So in her own way, she was taking his pain away from him at long last. At this rate, she was going to cry cry forever until she, too, disappeared. The realization chilled me to my bones. I wasn't about to let that happen, not if I could help it. So I started walking towards her, didn't realize I was doing it. I was going to try to seal her psychic corrosion away, but I knew this was impossible. I had no other course of action. I had to try it. She looked at me then, with such determination and rage that I took a step back. She cried out,
Get away from me!
She tore herself away from my gaze, so I was shaking her head violently.
Let me go! Pops asked me to stop. He wanted me to just stay with him, just hold his hand until the end.
Looked back at Analye's peaceful face. Knew that there was no way he could have died like this unless...
But I didn't want him to leave me. Not with all that pain. Not with all those memories. But
She backed away and glared at me.
these are my memories.
No. No, they're not.
But these are all I have left of him. Don't you dare.
She covered her face with her hands and cowered.
Don't you dare take him away from me.
With one final scream that depleted all the energy in her slender frame, she started crying again. I know why, but even to this day, I don't understand it. I couldn't take another step. I stumbled out of the church. I slumped against the wall and sank down to the ground. Psychic corrosion. So hard, so sad, so heavy for a soul to bear. Just thinking about her now filled me with so much pain that I found it hard to breathe. So this is why Maria had chosen to forget. Forget it all. I looked up. It's raining and snowing. Winter had truly come. The city would be enveloped in white soon enough. Is it really true what I said? Did it really get any easier just forgot? Somehow I had my doubts now. I felt weak. The fever had come back. Snowing so hard now, I could still make out a black suit. I need to stand. So Dexter knew where she was, sent his agents to get her. Enough, I could help it. So I stood as quickly as I could, but everything was blurry. All my strength left me. I slumped down to the ground. Then, knew no more. And the world, everything that I knew and loved in it, went completely dark. I never stopped thinking about the girl, not even the last. This is my true remembrance. While the song was warm and sweet, I could feel it embracing me, sink into my every pore, filling me up just like it had the first time in my apartment. I couldn't give in to it. Not just yet. I used my elbows to raise myself off the ground. A splitting headache strong enough to shatter my head to pieces assaulted me the moment I tried to fight off the drowsiness.
Don't push yourself, please. I beg you.
She said with an unsteady voice. I saw the word written all over her face, and I managed to smile. I guess. You're right. This is a little much. She pursed her lips, whispered that she was sorry. Maybe it was the haze. It was the headache. But at that moment, it looked like she was in more pain than I was.
You're resisting. No wonder it hurts. So please sleep.
Okay. Close your eyes, and I'll do as you say. In answer to her smile, La looked at me for a second, then she nodded. There's something more than a little weird about that. She had the upper hand by a long shot here. Why was she obeying? I ran my fingers down her cheeks, then drew near and kissed her. Her eyes fluttered open in surprise for a second, but she did not resist me. I could see flecks of blood, my blood, on her cheeks now. I wiped those away gently. Once I was done, I said, I love you, La. She blinked. Once, twice. Obviously, she was shocked, but had no idea whether she heard me. So I said it one more time, loudly. I love you. Just 3 little words, that was all. But they were the hardest 3 words I ever said. I could do anything more. That was okay, though. Because she heard me this time, she was starting to blush furiously. I couldn't tell she was trying to say something, but that she couldn't pull it all into words. She just smiled and waited, was prepared to wait forever. My head hurt as badly as ever, but that didn't matter anymore. I finally said what I set out to say.
Black Iris, you're so cruel.
She burst into tears. I just ran my fingers through her hair, gently, and waited. I could feel the headache leaving me already. When she finally started looking back up at me, her face was completely wet, her eyes were red. La. Why did she try to erase my memory? In response, she stared down the ground. Obviously, she was trying to figure out what to say. The tears fell and splattered on the floor as I watched.
Because you were in such pain, I thought. Because of me. Because of Pops. Because
Dexter told you so? She started to nod, but then she shook her head frantically.
he said that, but no, you're wrong. I chose to do it myself.
And why would you do that? So you thought so little of me that you didn't care that I forget you? I said half jokingly. I saw the hurt in her eyes when she glared back at me. Now she was crying harder than ever.
That's not true, and you know it.
Well, fair enough. That was a bit much. She's been cautioning me about that all month now.
But what I said to you, it was horrible. You've been so hurt. You've been through so much. But I hurt you more. So I thought, you'd be happy to forget me, I thought. It's my duty to cure you.
Horrible? You said something horrible? Wait, what was that?
I told you to get away from me.
I smiled, despite myself. I was shocked to hear that coming from her lips, alright. However... Oh, La, you're wrong. I was hurt by the choices you made then. But that's something I could easily recover from. She's chosen not to forget Analye. Maria had made the opposite choice. Because to be honest, it made me happy. Never met anyone who decided to do it the hard way. It was my choice when it came had been simple. No way in hell I was going to forget her. Besides, now I agreed to have my memory erased. She opened her eyes wide when I said this. Clearly she couldn't believe me. I know what happened between the two of you, but I never asked Dexter for this. Black suits had caught us at the church. After that, we were probably brought before Dexter, had our memories of the experience erased, so La could work as an Omega, I could continue my work as an Alpha. Then we both arrived at that house on 8th. doomed to repeat the same mistakes our forgetful minds had committed over and over. I never asked to forget you. I never want to forget you. That's the honest-to-goodness truth. I said with a smile, but La, she slid forward against me, putting her arms around me as she wailed.
Oh, stop.
I just held her in my arms. She kept crying. I started to get sleepy again. Except it was just because I was so relieved. When I awoke, my memories would still be there. So would La. Besides, I never known that it would feel so good to hold her in my arms. There was a soft, vulnerable smile on her face when we let go of each other. I heard her say goodnight to me, but drowsiness overtook me fast. I was asleep before I could say anything to her. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was La snuggle up right next to me, using my arm as her pillow. Next thing I saw was that she put a pillow under my head and draped a blanket over me. It was really nice of her. I also saw that she bandaged up my injured hand. I reached out and ran my fingers through her soft hair. She wriggled a little, and her eyes fluttered open. Sorry, did it wake you up? She shook her head no. When she realized exactly where she was, she blushed deeply and scrambled out of the blanket. I felt kind of cold now that she'd done that. And I was regretting ever having woken her. I still felt kind of sluggish, so I just lay back for a while. Only for a while. I had things to do. The loose leaf paper from La's binder were still scattered everywhere in the living room. I reached out for one of them, only to find out that La was scampering about picking them all up. Written reports, right?
Yeah. But still, it's embarrassing.
And what are they about?
Experimental notes. The erasure of the homicide's memory.
I see. It's understandable. No matter how deeply you search through the literature, you never find so much as a case report of this. It was highly theoretical matter, not even thought possible by most. So I was a guinea pig. That didn't make me feel so good.
Dexter wouldn't allow me to erase your memory. But he did let me stay with you for a month for this.
She finished putting her papers back in her binder. When she turned back to me, there was embarrassment and a little bit of shame in her smile.
Good morning.
Good morning. I could tell from her bashful reaction that yesterday hasn't been some kind of weird dream after all. Why? When I thought back on it, I felt just as bashful. Except La probably had no idea that I felt just as embarrassed as she did. It happened when you had a poker face like mine, I guess. Well, let's have some breakfast. Leave this place. We want Dexter goons to find us here. I was a little worried that someone might be waiting for us outside. If that were the case, they could have dragged us off yesterday night. Nothing had happened. We're leaving this town, La. La nodded firmly in response. We packed our bags and left the house. Looked back. So much had happened here. It felt more like home than my apartment on 5th, as a matter of fact. La kept looking back at the house. When we got to the grove of trees, over and over again, she couldn't let go. I completely understood. Walk on down to 6th Street. It was still early, most of the shops were closed. A few were open, like Aroma, for instance. When we walked in, Rook looked up from the counter to see who it was, and stared.
Luggage? Dude, you planning on going somewhere?
Yeah, I'm leaving this town. His mouth fell open so much that I was worried that he who would dislocate his joints. And that was funny, Rook being rendered speechless. So instead, after giving Jackal a pat on the head, Lips asked,
With La?
"You sound just as astonished as Rook looked." "That's right." Which Lips burst into peals of laughter. By this time, Rook had gotten a grip on himself. He was beaming as well, except he looked evil.
Really? So, you finally made your move, did you big playboy, you? I'm proud of you, man.
I wanted to tell him no, that was totally wrong, but that would have caused more trouble than it was worth. Besides, in a way, he wasn't wrong at all.
I never thought you'd beat me to the punch.
We've been thinking of leaving town too. Thinking of setting up a cafe somewhere far from here.
He said with a voice more full of happiness than I ever heard it before. Jackal looked up at all of us, his tail wagging fiercely.
Please drop by, okay?
Lips walked over to where La was and gave her a big hug. Jackal leapt up, trying to lick La in the face. La just laughed. Such a clear, warm sound.
Oh, of course. Thank you, Lips. And you, Jackal.
And what about me, little lady?
La Lips both burst into laughter when they saw the mock, forlorn look on Rook's face.
Anyway, I take it you have some sort of plan. How are you gonna get past the guards anyway?
Very carefully.
And Dexter?
Don't tell him anything, will you?
Roger.
We nodded at each other. This is it then. Rook extended a hand to me.
See you around, man.
Took his hand, shook it firmly. We'll meet again. I know it. Then La and I left Aroma. Forever. They walked to 5th Street. I originally settled here in 5th because I like the dark, crisscrossing back alleys. I was relatively quiet. But the sun was shining so hard today that there wasn't a single shadow to be found anywhere. We reached the old church and walked inside. Analye had taken his last breath here, surrounded by rust and decay, a ruin in a world where nothing, not even this church, was sacred anymore. Yet he died in peace, because La had been watching over him.
This way.
La led me down to the basement. From there, we take the tunnel out. Once we emerge, we'll be home free. Before we could go any further, we heard a door opening behind us. We turned and sure enough, it was Dexter. He had an empty smile on his face, and a gun in his hand.
Just as I expected. You know, you guys and Professor Analye, you're all too easy to figure out. Boring, really.
I made sure La was behind me. Then I took stock of the situation. Need to put some serious distance between us and that gun.
I'd like you to hand over that little lady there, please.
That's not a command I can obey, sorry. La's been gripping my arm tightly, but just now her grip loosened up. I could see her biting her lips. Clearly she wanted to say something, but... La, not a word. I'll get mad you say anything weird now, okay? Wasn't leaving without her, no matter what she tried to say. But La gulped and nodded. Dexter took one step, then another towards us. We matched his steps, except backwards. Soon there, though, we were pressed up against the podium. Dead end.
What a shame. I'd hoped I wouldn't have to kill you.
To arbitrarily erase someone's memories is the same thing as killing him. I glared at him furiously. He just smiled and said,
That was for your sake, my good man. Come, are you that dense? The world is full of sad things. You can't possibly take them all in and expect to survive.
his finger tightened on the trigger. I grabbed Law and dove for the floor. The gun went off. I hear the bullet hitting the wall right above me. It hit the ground, cold stone scraped against my cheek. And I thrust my hand a crack between the podium and the floor. There was something cold and metallic. I knew what this was. I grabbed it. Before I could do anything more, I pointed the gun at Dexter. But you know, there are some things that you're better off remembering. Like this gun that Analye had given me so long ago, for instance. Dexter slowly lowered his gun. I kept mine pointed at him.
So, aren't you gonna shoot? You could probably kill me in an instant, you know.
Dexter smiled wryly. I smiled right back. Perhaps. But if I did that, the person he gave the music box to would cry. Wouldn't she now? Dexter blinked. He wasn't expecting this, obviously, but then he nodded quietly.
Yes, she would.
I lowered my gun and turned to Law. She's looking up at me with great concern. I just smiled at her and urged her into the tunnel. Dexter hoisted his gun, turned around and started walking out of the church. I bowed deeply. Thank you for everything. I didn't think he heard me at first. But then, before he disappeared out of the door and into the light, he raised one hand in valediction. Then looked back. The sun was so brilliant when we came out of the tunnel that I had to shield my eyes. Law took my arm and gently guided me into a new world. The back hurt from having to crawl through that small tunnel. I sighed and took a deep breath of free air. It's fresh and clean. Alright. Where shall we go from here? I asked as I surveyed the rolling hills and forests all around us. I thought about this for a moment. She didn't have to think long, though.
I want to see the mountain and the ocean.
The ocean and mountains generally tend to be in opposite directions, silly. You should pick one for now, okay? I replied with a smile, but obviously, Law wasn't as amused. Her glare vanished in a matter of seconds, though. She got just as used to getting teased by me as I got used to teasing her. Anyway, doesn't matter. For now, let's go. We walked for a long time. We got to the top of an especially large hill. We turned around. Our city, the city, shone radiantly in a brilliant morning light. A large city, a clean city, a city where people came to be healed, a city where memories came to die. I turned to Law, only to find out she was also looking down the city. Tears were running down her cheeks, being carried away by that gentle breeze. Law.
Oh, don't mind me. It's not because I'm sad.
She dried her tears. She smiled, just for me.
It's because I'm happy. Black Iris.